Hello and welcome to The Good, the Bad and the Worst, a podcast where normally we rate and review trilogies. I'm your host, Flick Too Hard Griner, and joining me today are the Mighty Conan and Luke the God Killer.
Hey.
Boys, Thor Love and Thunder just hit cinemas. We did the Thor trilogy not that long ago, I feel like, and Marvel went and screwed us over and released another Thor film.
Bastards.
I feel like we've talked at length about Thor. We've done a few Marvel reviews recently, but I'm interested to hear you guys. What was your cinema experience like this time? Because we had Spider-Man where kind of everyone was there and they're in on the joke, right? It's kind of this in-joke that everyone's in on, and we're waiting for these cameos to show up. And then we had, what else? We had Doctor Strange, and I feel like it was a lot more muted. We had Top Gun Maverick, where everybody just seemed super pumped. All the boomers were there. What was your cinema experience like for Thor Love and Thunder, Luke?
So, this experience was unlike any Marvel experience I've had so far. So I went opening night in our town, second session overall, but opening night, the first night session. It was raining. It's always raining for some reason whenever I go watch a Thor movie. Our cinema has holes in the ceiling, so it leaks. So the three seats next to me had signs on them, and they were wet, and water was dripping on. It was like, you can't sit here.
Can't put a bucket there or something? Jeez.
I sat next to the wet seats. The cinema
can't afford a bucket.
Was mostly full, not like packed, but fairly decent turnout. And it was mute. It was a muted experience, muter than Doctor Strange.
Wow.
Where I feel like there maybe one or two laughs, but no reaction, no Marvel reaction. It was a very weird Marvel opening night experience for me. But yeah, what about you? What about you guys?
I had a pretty similar one actually. I went Friday night, so not opening night, but the first weekend night of it. So it was pretty big. It was a 7:45 screening, I believe. So it wasn't crazy early. So it was kind of like prime time. It was mostly packed out. I got there, and the guy behind me was one of those nerds who wouldn't stop talking about stupid crap whilst I was waiting for it. Yeah. But he seemed really into the franchise, and there was a couple of girls, a few other rows behind me, and they seemed really into it. But this all before the movie started, and yeah, it was crickets for the most part. There was none of the jokes in my session landed.
No.
No one really got into it. There was no cheering. There was no enthusiasm. It was a very strange.
Now, what strange session did you attend, Griner? Because it sounds like you had a different experience.
I had the absolute opposite experience. So I attended a 4 o'clock in the afternoon Saturday session. So been out for a couple of days, 4 in the afternoon, not a nighttime showing. Wasn't full. It was probably half full. There was a good mix of not older people, but there wasn't all teenagers there, which I would probably have expected if I'd gone to an opening night or something like that. And people were loving it. People were. Wow. There was a girl next to me who was making sounds that belong in an R-rated film. Like when Mighty Thor showed up, I thought they were going to have to get her a towel. I don't know. There was some sounds. There were people behind me cheering and laughing, and I've got it. It really changes your experience depending on what the experience of people around you is. Because, when I saw Endgame, the girl next to me was crying. She was absolutely howling, and I started getting teary too. And in this, I was enjoying. I had a good time. I was laughing. I was into it because everyone around me was laughing. Looking back on it after I've been there, I'm like, I don't know if that joke was that funny, but I still laughed when the goats were screaming all the time. And I don't know, everyone else around me was. We were kind of into it. But let's get into it. I'll give you a few quick. Sorry, go
Can I just ask real quick? Do you reckon that's because that was the non-hardcore fan seeing that as casual moviegoer versus the...
No, the girl making noises next to me was a hardcore fan. She was talking about who Mighty Thor is before the screening. The guys behind me were talking about Taika Waititi's other films and stuff like that. These were people who were aware of what was going on, knew about Marvel a decent amount. There was also non-film people there, right? Because there's people that I work with that went there who I wouldn't normally see at the cinema. So there was a mixture, but it might have been just the people around me who were really into it. I'm not sure.
I better lost them.
My group were teenagers. My group were young people Snapchatting and doing all this sort of stuff, and they didn't make much noise. Few people were wet, but that was from the ceiling.
That's
so
rough. No, my cinema was definitely wet for other reasons.
Yeah.
A few early stats that have come out. So far, it looks like about 302 million worldwide on a $250 million budget. Not too bad for an opening weekend. I'd probably take that. Probably a little on the low side for a Marvel film. I don't think I've heard anything about this breaking any records or coming out way ahead of anything else.
It's the best opening for Thor, a Thor film.
Yeah, okay.
Even better than Ragnarok. So
that makes sense. I think.
It does.
Yeah.
And Metacritic sitting on a whopping 57.
Not great.
Very, very low. Very, very low. Let's get into it. What did you guys think of Thor: Love and Thunder? I've got to say, Luke, was your experience? Did they show ads at the start of your screening?
Yep. Yeah.
So this is the other really weird thing. There was not a single trailer, not a single ad before my screening. It just went straight. It went straight to the cold open of Christian Bale and his daughter walking through the desert.
Oh,
it was such a weird experience because it was just like dead silent and someone's like, is this the movie? And then it's like Christian Bale on screen, like, shit, this is the movie. What is happening? It was kind of nice, I got to say.
We had 4 or 5 trailers for bad things, so maybe that killed the vibe for everyone.
I just need to put this out here. This is a spoiler cast in case anyone's just tuning in.
Yes.
Just make sure it's made
definitely
aware. So if you don't want to be spoiled, turn it off now. Yeah, I saw it at like one of the big chain event cinema, and there was a good solid 40 minutes of ads. So we were. My frozen yogurt was eaten long before the movie started.
Yeah.
If I was late to this screening, I would have missed the cold open. How did you guys think? What did you guys think of the cold open? Christian Bale walking through the desert with his daughter, and ultimately burying her, and then finding a god to kill, essentially.
Really different for a Marvel film, right?
Yeah.
No, doesn't start with a flicking credit. The chapters or whatever doesn't have the generic uplifting theme. It's I don't know. It's a pretty
brutal opening.
Yeah, it's not fun. It's pretty hardcore.
So yeah, I really enjoyed the opening scene. Other than the fact that I feel like there was just some weird CGI thing going on with the god, like his face looked detached from his body, like it looked like
he was very like stiff, like he had a bad neck and couldn't move his head. Or
it was
something.
Like his face, an actor's face, was photoshopped onto a body. Like it was. It gave me Hobbit vibes of, but
the CGI in this.
Anyway. Yeah, we'll get into the CGI, but I liked the open. I feel like it was the best scene we got with Gore, and I feel like we didn't get another. Like, there's other stuff with him, but I'm like, that's the only time we see him kill a god. Like, really?
It's true.
There should have been way more god killing. There was a montage.
For a god butcher, he does no butchering.
That's right. Yeah.
Off camera, he does apparently, but
allegedly, yeah. Well, even then, he's just kind of like he leaves Sif just with one arm. Like, doesn't even kill her.
It's
sort yourself out, Gore.
Yeah, that's my first point. There should have been a lot more god butchering from Gore the God Butcher.
There should have been more Christian Bale in general.
Yes, there should have been more Christian Bale. So here's the thing. I came all in to this podcast. Like, I haven't talked to you guys at all about this film. I came all in ready to troll you and be like, well, I thought Top Gun Maverick was the best film of the year, but here comes Thor. I didn't like this film.
Oh, really?
I actively,
my boy,
while watching it, was like, am I done with the MCU? Has Top Gun killed the MCU for me, or what is going on? Because I laughed once, maybe, but not even laughed. Like I laugh more watching a rewatch of Ragnarok. I feel like so many of the jokes fell flat for me. It could have, and obviously the atmosphere does add a lot to that. You know, when people are having fun, you're having fun.
Yeah.
It is very much like that, but I feel like there was so many jokes. Like everything ended on a punchline, and like 1 out of 10 hit. I feel like the CGI was bad in this film. Like it looked like the Heimdall's son showing up. I don't know. I was like, what is this?
What is that head? Yeah, it was
bad. That head floating. I was like, what is this?
But I feel like that was partially intentional, right?
Maybe, but I'm just like, I don't know. Like I feel like after loving like Top Gun Maverick so much and like what it did with physical, like practical effects and all this sort of stuff. Watching it just felt so cartoonish and just silly to me. Like it felt weird. I was just like, I'm not enjoying this. Like I
Mm.
I love Thor Ragnarok. I love that film so much. It's like one of my favorite MCU films. I think it's genuinely hilarious. Um, I feel like this, like a good example in this film, we find out about Jane having like cancer, and like when she drops the hammer, she goes back to that form, and she smashes the sink, and she comes out. She has that talk with Tessa Thompson, and then it's like let's end the joke with this Bluetooth speaker joke, and they just stand
Yeah.
there for like 10 seconds listening to this song, and it's like
It's
I don't get why there always needs to be a joke, and that's Marvel these days, where there always needs to be a joke, and that's Taika Waititi. But in this one, when they're all falling flat, it's like, oh man, it's bad. I didn't enjoy this film. Didn't enjoy it.
This is a weight lifted from my shoulders to hear you.
I knew you would.
To finally have someone else to share their dislike, to be the one who's like, "Oh, this isn't that good. Let's yuck your yum." I'm so
Yeah.
glad to hear that you didn't enjoy this film.
It just
And I don't want to revel in that, but thank you.
it felt so by the book, as in this is a Marvel movie. If you were to give it to an AI generator and create a Marvel Thor movie, I feel like I don't feel like it did anything really. I'm sorry,
It didn't.
Grant.
I feel like Phase. We'll probably get into it, but Phase 4 really lacks a direction, and I don't know whether that's a good thing. Like, do we want more of these standalone films that work okay on their own? Because I didn't have to watch any of Loki to understand this film. I didn't have to know what happened in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness to know what was going on here. They don't even mention other superheroes. He's like, I'm getting together a team, and I feel like in Phase 3, that would have been like, I'm going to call Iron Man and see what he's up to. Like, no, I'm talking about some random gods that we've never heard of before. Like, it's their films feel orphaned off from the rest of the universe, I guess. And I don't know whether that's a good thing, because we keep complaining about how much they're releasing and how much you feel like you have to watch to keep up with it. And I don't know whether I should be happy that there are these films coming out that aren't so interrelated.
I didn't think about that. It is very standalone almost. Like you don't need to have engaged in the other stuff. But a point against that, I was so disappointed that the Guardians were gone in 5 minutes. Like I really liked their chemistry of Chris Pratt and Thor in Endgame and what we got in Avengers, where I've been so hyped for Guardians and Thor, and then for them to literally just be part of like an opening montage and a goodbye, and then that's it. They're not talked about. They don't come in to help at the end, or there's nothing. They're literally like, we're off.
Especially because
what was the point of it?
Yeah, that was kind of a big part of the legacy, right? It's like, this is where Thor goes now. He's with them.
It's how Endgame finishes.
And it's been a question fans have been wondering, like, cool, this is going to be a fun adventure because Thor is now a comedy character. The Guardians are comedy characters. This is perfect. And I think it's kind of indicative of the problem that Marvel is facing the most, is that, like, there's a really interesting Den of Geek article talking about how Marvel needs to accept that it's to be consumed the way comic books were consumed. And that is, you find the ones you like and you stick with those. You don't consume everything because there's too much. But Marvel, I think, is still trying to have its cake and eat it too, because it's trying to, every time it makes a show, with the exception of Moon Knight or a movie, it's trying to say, hey, this is going to come up later in the future. Like at the end of this, we get Hercules as a cameo. And so we don't know what that means, but we know that Hercules is probably going to be a direction for Thor. Is that 2 years from now? Is that 10 years from now? Is that a series in 5 years? We don't know. But everything is kind of doing this, like things like this, they all feel a little bit independent and separate. You got like Ms. Marvel and She-Hulk, where it's got some characters from the other thing, but it's also its own entity. But if you don't see one, you will miss out on things. Like Doctor Strange is the worst for that, where you can make your way through it, but at the same time, there's a huge leap in like, what the hell has happened here? Oh, I had to watch that TV show, the second released, to understand fully. Whereas I think Marvel just needs to accept that it's like, hey, some people aren't going to watch this stuff. If you like Thor, watch Thor. That's fine. That's cool. If you want to watch this standalone series, do that. But I don't think they can keep connecting everything and trying to build, because they're getting too big for themselves. And so, I guess to Thor's credit, with the exception of Hercules, the two Waititi films have been standalone, which I think is what it needs to be. I don't want to see Thor interacting with 30 different people, unless it's the Guardians, which they should have.
The Hercules is I feel like the Hercules is right though. Like it's only teasing its next movie, right? Like it's not.
Yeah.
It's
Do
not.
we get Thor 5 though?
Yeah.
Or do we
If
get
Thor will
Guardians of the
return,
Galaxy?
who knows?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it'll be a Thor film, right? Like
No, you're right. It doesn't. But
this is the problem, is that I don't think we get a fifth Thor film.
I do.
That'd be.
I think we do
You think we
too.
get just a Thor standalone?
Yeah, I can't see Thor interacting with like the cast of heroes we have again on Earth.
But Thor is the
In a
last
weird
OG,
way.
and like he is an outlier. It's weird that we're still getting these movies because all the old generation's gone. Like
He was the last OG to come into it though too. But he I don't know, the current generation of heroes feels underpowered compared to the OG, and Thor is the outlier there where he's like still literally a god. Like I don't know, Thor vs Spider-Man feels a little bit one-sided.
Yeah, so doesn't that feel weird to have
Thor vs Captain
plus-
America we got, and it was,
for sure.
But here's the thing: I really think, and I think Chris Hemsworth even said this. I think like the Thor we have now started with Ragnarok. Like this is a different Thor than Thor 1 and Thor 2. You know, like, and Chris Hemsworth said he was kind of done with Thor, but Taika Waititi has re-engaged him, and he's like, okay, no, I can do more of these ones. So it's like this comedy Thor. We haven't had his whole thing. I feel like it's a different character, but
I don't know. Like it is, but also there's no arc for Thor. Each of these films are standalone little adventures. There's no real like story for him. It's just,
and that was one of my big problems with it. It's like we're getting Thor discovering himself again, because that's pretty much what we got in Ragnarok.
Yeah,
like
I mean that's really been his his thing in all of them, right? He
Yeah.
discovers who he is. Like,
do they do that a third time? I don't think so. Don't think it works.
you guys think Taika Waititi returns for a third film?
I don't know. I think so. I feel like he's got a trilogy in him.
yeah,
I think my biggest thing with this, right, is so none of the jokes landed for me either. Watching this, I thought this movie was incredibly unfunny.
All right, so hold on. Let me just lay out some jokes, and you tell me if they're not funny. Thor riding his axe like a broom to go join the battle. Real stupid. I don't know. People in my cinema were cracking up at this shit.
It elicits a
saying that Interstellar explains everything really well.
that just pissed me off.
that was awesome.
Hilarious joke.
There are so many other films that do the exact same thing better than that.
I
as
know.
well.
The fact that like the theme of this movie is about like at the end it's like it was love, Murph. I was like, oh my god, this is an Interstellar tribute film. I was like, Conan's gonna love this.
Zeus spinning his lightning bolt around, a la Mac doing karate, and It's Always Sunny. That was pretty funny.
Should we talk about Zeus now? Do we do that here?
Let's talk about Zeus. Zeus was one of the better bits in this movie.
Zeus's standout. Zeus is great. Russell Crowe.
I liked Zeus. That's the standout. I liked everything with Zeus.
Yeah. I loved his accent. His like Australian Greek accent.
Yeah.
It was the perfect choice. It's really fits the movie well.
It felt very like felt very much like Russell Crowe doing like an accent. Like it was
it feels like him doing comedy in the 70s, right? Like
yes, 100%.
And that's
it almost feels risque, right? Like, are you allowed to do this? I don't know.
I was just flicking through an article before that was like, we need to talk about his accent. And I was like, gosh, okay. But I thought it worked. Like that whole part is really funny. Seeing Chris Hemsworth's butt and
his tattoo on his back for Mjolnir. That was pretty funny, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Loki, rest in peace, Loki, and that scene was fun, but. Yeah, like
my biggest problem with that scene, they could have cut that scene out.
Yeah.
Like apart from the lightning bolt weapon, which we didn't really need,
it didn't even come into play.
No,
like it was just
like Thor used it, but he didn't need it.
No.
It feels like a way to bring Zeus in and thus bring Hercules in and thus keep the franchise going. And even the lightning bolt, even though it was funny, it kind of like it feels super fake, right? It feels really hokey. This long styrofoam lightning bolt.
It's a shit weapon. Like it's a boring ass weapon.
It was still funny though when he threw it straight
him
through.
Playing with it was
Zeus's
hilarious.
chest though too. Like
when
it goes through Zeus's chest, I was like, oh shit, he just killed Zeus. But
jokes, no, he doesn't because there's no stakes in this. That scene kind of summed up this problem, right? That Taika has a constant dilemma. Not a dilemma. It's his MO. He makes films that are really funny but also really serious, and he's good at that, right? Like. Boy has a really like strong emotional core. What We Do in the Shadows, it's a comedy without a doubt, but it has like a constant sort of seriousness to it as well, which is really interesting. Eagle vs Shark is quite self-serious.
Hunt for the Wilder People.
Hunt for the Wilder People, really earnest. Like, so that he's really good at.
Jojo Rabbit.
I haven't. That's the only one of his I haven't seen.
Oh, see, that deals with some heavy stuff, but there's also a lot of comedy in it. But it's also really has an emotional punch to it. So
yeah, and so that's really his wheelhouse. That's what he does, and that's a really hard tonal thing to do, to pull off comedy and seriousness well. And for most of his career, he's done it, but he's also made like fewer films throughout a period of time. I think as an indie director, he's really good at like he figures out what he wants to do and he obsesses over it and he makes this project. Whereas, and then in Ragnarok, that's exactly what makes that work, is that it's a perfect combination of like, we really feel the ethos and the pathos of Thor and there's stakes and it feels that. This doesn't. This feels like none of this works. The comedy and the seriousness just don't mesh. So much so that even parts like in that God City, there's like a hokiness and a fakeness that he does, which is kind of charming in some parts, but in this, it feels really off-putting.
The dumpling?
Dumpling, big one that just kind of like,
It's literally like a cartoon.
You meet the god of
Korg,
which
is hilarious that they're on a throne
like that.
of scissors.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So okay, like you make a good point, but so with this whole thing, like with Korg, obviously played by Taika Waititi, I loved Korg in Ragnarok. He's one of my favorite parts in it. When I watch it, like I think he's hilarious. I think a whole movie with that character kind of then just takes away the funniness of Korg. It's like he's in a couple scenes in Ragnarok, and every time he shows up, it's like, oh my god, he's hilarious. Like this one quip. When he's just constantly this character throughout the whole film, it's like too much like Taika Waititi. I'm like
his character in Hunt for the Wilder People has one scene. It's the funniest scene in the whole movie, and that's all we need. Like you don't need that character to come back every second scene. And there was too much Korg. As much as I love Taika Waititi's movies, and I felt really disappointed after this one because he really didn't manage to do the seriousness and the comedy well together. No, even the serious parts of it didn't hit for me.
No,
and they should have. And they should have.
Like
Jane's death is a big deal.
It's meant to be, and Jane dealing with cancer is kind of an interesting idea, right?
Yep.
And that all of that could be really good, and there's plenty of stuff to explore there. But none of it landed. I don't know. And I've been trying to figure out what the deal is, right? I'm trying to figure out if because I was looking at his career. Taika Waititi is like working like a mofo. He has got films in production, in post-production, in pre-production.
Star Wars.
Like he's got his Star Wars. He's got a new film coming out next year. He's still executive producing on TV shows. He's helping get other indie stuff off the ground for other filmmakers. Like
he's starring in movies, like not starring, but like has big roles in movies too.
Yeah, like the dude's a machine, and I wonder if he's just stretched too thin.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what I felt like with this film a bit. That he's like, okay, I've got to rely on the old Waititi charms, and it's like, oh no, there's no heart here, Taika. Where is it? And I just don't know I don't think he was in it, and that's why I wonder if he comes back for a third, because I actually don't think I think he's done with this franchise. Even if he doesn't know it yet, I just don't think he cares about it.
Maybe. I just worry he doesn't. I worry he just burns himself out. And we've had the golden years of Taika Waititi, and we just get him churning out everything for the next couple of years because he's the hottest thing in Hollywood at the moment. And then we don't hear, like, nobody wants to see his movies again. And he in 15 years we get another indie film, and it's freaking awesome. But until then, we get shit Taika. I hope that's not the case because I really love his movies, but this one was definitely a miss. I think the biggest problem with like the heart in this film is the pacing was so strange in so much of it, and like you had to reintroduce Jane because she was basically a non-character since Dark World, right? Like she has not appeared. I think she was a photograph in one film, and that was it. Like you have to reintroduce her, and then all of a sudden she's got cancer. And then there's so much going on in this film. There's not enough time for that relationship to develop again, and for us to care about her as much as we should, I think.
Yeah, that was the biggest obstacle to me coming in this. I couldn't be like, why am I invested in their relationship? And there's that Korg does the whole, like he tells the story
montage,
of what happens. which is actually that's the one that works. He does
Yeah.
the one at the beginning doesn't, because he's like, hey, in case you've missed all the other Marvel films, here's what Thor's been doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we learn now finally what happened, and that kind of works for me. It's kind of like that, the opening of Up, which everybody adores. But yeah, like we just haven't had enough time with her, so she really is kind of a forgotten commodity at that point.
But that's the thing, like I like that when he's recapping their love story, because obviously we see all this stuff that we never saw in any of the movies, like of their relationship, and we see it like, go downhill. Like it cracks me up. I do like just the subtle joke of him having like Nick Fury calling him. It's like Nick Fury, on his phone. But yeah, so Grant, do you have a list of the jokes that you wanted to just check if they hit it, or? Because I just wanted to, like, the goat screaming.
There's lots that really missed that I wasn't going to bring up, but like the goat screaming is one. And I was laughing at that. People were laughing at it, but I know it's not a good joke.
The goat screaming got me once when they crash headfirst into the moon.
Yeah,
and then scream. That one got me, where I was like, okay, that's funny. The rest of them didn't get me, but yeah, it was. No, yeah.
What about the return of Matt Damon, Sam Neill?
Yes, I was glad to see Matt Damon back again. I'm like,
and that's that second scene they have where they're like, "Can we do a play about it?"
Yeah,
she didn't say we couldn't.
Yeah.
Melissa McCarthy coming in as
Hela. That's great.
It was pretty funny.
That got a laugh. Like when she showed up, people in my cinema were like, "Oh my god, it's her!"
Yeah.
Like this is awesome.
I don't know if anyone in my cinema recognized it. No one reacted, which is weird. Like I thought they would have. Yeah.
Daryl was there. He
was like the director or something. Yeah, from the shorts,
the short films, which I really liked. Those are funny. So it was good to just show him as like this volunteer who never has a scene with Thor himself or anything. But, yeah, I don't like. It's just, yeah.
Can you guys think of one joke that Natalie Portman is involved with that's funny?
I can tell you 5 attempts.
Her trying to come up with her funny line
is not funny.
Not funny.
And it keeps coming up, and just her like workshopping a few ideas. I'm like, oh, this is cringe. Like
it's really cringe.
I get what you're going for, and it could be funny. Like that trope of like someone being like, oh, I want to come up with like a cool badass hero catchphrase, does not work with her.
It's
like,
really
I don't know
overdone,
what it is.
Though. It's so overdone.
It is so overdone. Yeah. And it's just, just every time it comes up again, it's like,
And then at the end when she's like, my name is Doctor, and it's like, let's see, Dr. Jane Foster and Eat Hammer or something. Like, oh, it's awful.
I liked Corg mixing up her name, Jane Fonda, Jodie Foster.
Yeah, Jodie Foster.
I didn't mind her character in this. Like, I was worried that we were going to get the movie where she's a badass now and she doesn't want anything to do with Thor, but instead they're both kind of awkward and, they both have this feeling for each other.
Really?
But, I prefer that than the other direction. I don't think it was... Okay. I think Natalie Portman was pretty poor in this film.
That's another thing. Like, her chemistry with Hemsworth as well, it didn't work for me. Like, she just feels like such... All the others have really good comedic bones, right? Chris Hemsworth, I've come around even more on, like, he is just a very talented comedic actor.
He really is.
Tessa Thompson's having a lot of fun with it, and she's really leaning into it. All of them are doing it well.
She's just turning up on set in her pajamas.
Yeah, like it's great. There's just a natural sort of comedy to these people. Whereas Natalie Portman, I think she is funny when she's like quirky funny. Like, I was thinking back to like Garden State when she's that film, and she's kind of like this offbeat, like awkward comedy. She's good in those roles. I don't think she's like I still think she could do like a comedic standout. And she'd get a lot of heavy lifting to do with the comedy here, and it just none of it's really works hard. They're really trying to make her like just hilarious, and none of them work. Absolutely none of them. And I don't know if that's just because she doesn't know how, or if she's trying to do something different. But like the whole arc hinges on it.
Yeah. So Christian Bale. Yeah. But we wouldn't.
Can anyone say no? Really?
We definitely need more. I mean, that first scene where you just see him and he's so so skinny. Like there's like he's not like gaunt like he was for the Machinist, but he's like he's not big. He's not Batman Christian Bale. Like he's this skinny monk looking dude, and I really enjoyed him like getting the sword. I don't know the sword. I don't know about the sword.
It was pretty lame that the sword picks him just randomly.
Yeah.
Why did the other guy not have the same I don't know. Like that opening scene is really good until
Till
it
he gets to
ends,
the god. Yeah.
until he gets to the sword, and then he's just like, "Oh, my vow is that I'll kill all the gods." Like, jeez, this went from 0 to 100 fast, dude.
The
Like,
I
like
liked his scene on the black and white planet. Like,
that planet is the standout moment in the film.
it
for
was
me.
very
It's
good.
really artistically interesting. Just really cool. Gore looks super cool when he's like got the black trailing down his lips there.
Yep.
He just looks so
The
messed
gold
up.
eyes, like it's
All of that stuff, like those artistic flourishes, are good. I think Gore he's really underused in this. Like you said, like we see no butchering.
none.
Yeah.
We see a handful of fights, and he's good at it. Like, but we don't get enough of a like. He's a villain that doesn't have he has a great motivation. There's no reason to think he's a villain.
No, I kind of agree with him. Kill that god.
All we see is that one part where Hemsworth goes, "Oh, all these innocent gods have been killed." Yeah. Well, I don't know. The only god I've seen was that douche god that got killed. So
And then,
shouldn't
and then they go to this place with all gods, and they're all douchebags.
And like, it might have been good to see Christian Bale kill some of those douchebags and be like,
I thought he was going to show up and mess Zeus up and everything.
the whole time.
I thought this was going to be a thing. Thor leaves and Gore shows up and wipes them all out. It's like, oh god, this is brutal. He killed that dumpling.
Imagine that he just eats the dumpling. Like, imagine if he just turned up and like it's like an escape from this city, right? The city's just getting destroyed. Gore is just shredding people apart, and they've all got to get out for Thor's powerless for some reason. Like that would be super cool because there's also moments of horror in this film that are really great. When he attacks New Asgard, and you see like this skeleton walking over the horizon, and he teleports closer.
Yeah, like him coming out of the dark and looking, super well
and
done.
Disappearing and showing back up again. Like that's cool. It's like, oh, this dude's freaky.
Super effective and but again, undone by comedy, and nothing. Then it's like, all right, let's have some more with Thor and Natalie Portman.
And I don't know. I just feel like there was this weird thing with the CGI in this film. Like so much of it just looked.
Do you want to tell me some scenes that you thought were, like? There are some, I agree, but it wasn't a standout.
I don't know, just
bad CGI film for me.
Even like the opening battle thing with the Guardians, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just my taste in it. Like obviously Ragnarok was very bright colored and cartoony, but it just I don't know. Everything felt so fake. I don't know how to explain it. Even it's just.
No, that opening scene, I had the same thought. There's a few moments with the lightning effects, and they look like they just haven't been rendered properly, or the frames are off, and it looks really jumpy. And this is again my dilemma. Taika intentionally creates these films to look cheap, right? Like Thor's costumes in all of them look really cheap and hacky.
Yeah,
the lightning bolt looks like it's so bright and overly colorful that it's meant to look almost stupid. And sometimes that works as a charm. Like in Ragnarok, it all works because the whole world is built on that. Whereas in this, I think it's trying more to still be a serious, real film, in quotation marks. And so the aesthetic that he goes to doesn't work. And I don't know if he intended the CGI to look cheap or if it's just part of the problem of these films because CGI takes 4 or 5 years to make properly, and these films are coming out once a year. But things like all the fight scenes, the opening one especially, really just looked pretty bad, I thought.
Like Thor doing the splits between the two bad guys. I don't know. I thought it was funny, but you're right. It didn't look as epic, and I think that style works better on a planet where everything's kind of got this fake facade to it. Like, what was the planet? What was the planet in Ragnarok? I can't remember what it's called. It wasn't nowhere, but the end of the universe, wherever they were. But
I can't remember.
Don't know, the Grandmaster's planet.
Yeah.
We needed
it doesn't
more
work
Grandmaster.
everywhere.
Well, he was meant to be in this originally, so there's apparently a 4-hour cut that exists.
Yeah,
and Lena Headey was in filmed scenes and then got cut as well. And Grandmaster filmed scenes and was cut
Peter
as well.
Dinklage as well. He had scenes was cut.
Yeah. As that character, but
the Forge Master or the Dwarf or whoever he is.
Yeah,
the giant. I don't know what he is.
But like, I don't know. Like, there was something with Ragnarok where it took me by surprise. Like, obviously, very different direction from the previous two films. So much of the comedy, like, it blew me away. I was like, I'm cracking up so much during Ragnarok. Grandmaster obviously added so much to that film. I think Loki and Chris Hemsworth, their chemistry is great. So you had their brother thing going on through that. With this one, like from the opening scene, just so much I was just like, oh yeah, we're Thor, the funny film. Look how funny we are. Like it felt like let's do everything extra. While like the opening scene of Ragnarok when he's like held by is it Hades, the dude with the big horn that destroys Asgard at the end. You know, he's in the cage and he's just like,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
that.
that's true,
That was
yeah.
funny, you know. Like
Yeah.
I don't know why, but there's just little comedy things that. Yeah, I don't know, but I feel like it's just too much now. Like we've had it. So
What about Thor pining for his hammer and then having the axe come into frame on the side?
I like that. I did like
that was funny.
Just
too.
every time it showed up and just yeah, I did. Like
but
that.
it's a very, very silly movie, and I think Ragnarok is kind of silly too. But it handles I don't know. It feels like such a weird dynamic between the silly parts and the serious parts. There's no meshing there of them, whereas it does in Ragnarok. I feel like it does in other Taika Waititi movies as well.
Yeah,
the heart and the comedy work together well. In this, they felt like they were at odds.
Yeah, and I guess part of it's the absurdity, which is sort of like depicting the absurd situation highlights the drama when it comes out, I think. And I mean, I don't know, you can spend all day trying to analyze how we have a response to things, but I think that's what it is to me. Like, his comedy is so sort of silly and in your face that you put off guard, but you're like, this is a world that Taika lives in. This is his world. He tells you what's going on. He's the one who has Korg talking with, just making weird non sequiturs in a Kiwi accent. And we're like, cool, I'm here for that. And so the drama coming in and hitting really heavily is like, I was disarmed by your laughs, but this is actually a real world with real stuff. Whereas your Love and Thunder, pardon me, I don't feel like this is Taika's world. I feel like this is him making, I use this phrase so much, he's making a Marvel film. I feel like his hands are a little bit more tied in this, and I don't know if that's self-imposed or if that is Kevin Feige, the malevolent overlord, putting his insidious gore-like tentacles into his brain. But I feel like there's more. He's trying to have a bit of everyone in there. He's trying to catch us up. He's not trying to make gore too compelling or too scary. And as a result, we get a lot of everything, and none of it's taken to the proper fulfillment that it needs to be to hear. And it's really upsetting. Like,
I would be surprised if there was studio interference. Like, I feel like he should have a pretty blank check to do whatever he wants there. Like,
I mean, he even came out yesterday.
He saved Thor, essentially.
He totally did, yeah.
He came out yesterday and was saying, like, people who keep asking me for like a director's cut, he was like, I don't like director's cut. He was like, directors need to be controlled. He's like, that's the film. He's like, that's the best outcome for that film. The one
it's very clearly some weird cuts there, though. Like, the editing is a bit off in this movie in places. Like, especially at the start when he's with the Guardians. Like, it feels like it jumps from him being really happy to really sad to really happy. Yeah. Like, it feels incongruous. Anyway,
this is why.
I don't know. Like, it feels. There's certain things, like at the start, I was like, we've never been told like that Heimdall had a son. We didn't know that was Heimdall's son getting kidnapped, or at least I didn't.
No.
Until his head starts floating.
The only black man in Asgard. You should know
I was just like, what? I was like, who's this kid? What the hell's going on here? And then it's just like, oh yeah, it's you, Heimdall's son. Oh, yeah. And it's just it was weird.
Speaking of kids, Taika Waititi's got a bit of a weird thing with kids. Like, they're big parts in all his films, right? What did you guys think of that climactic battle scene with the children?
If Thor can share his power, why didn't he do that when they attacked Asgard?
Great question.
Why didn't he do that in Endgame against them?
There's so many places he could have used this power.
And just powered up everybody's weapons. I do like the thing where he says temporarily.
Yeah.
Like he's like just for this fight.
I like the girl spinning with the bunny in her arms with lasers coming out of it. That was cool.
That was the only part that made me laugh. But the rest of that battle was I was like shuddering.
It was kind of unnecessary too. Like, I don't know. Did they need to have the shadow monsters there? Couldn't it have just been Gore and Thor going at it? Like,
yeah, well, that's exactly it. But they're like, he's like, no, but I like to have, he's like obsessed with innocence. I like to have kids in my films, And so there's a scene where we have kids doing bad CGI flips and fights. And I'm like, we need an epic fight. And he's like, well, I can do an epic fight, but it's funny. And again, it's not funny though.
We don't get an epic fight. Even like yeah, I don't think it's an epic fight either. Like it's just,
but I think this is the placeholder. That's where an epic fight would be, right? This is the showdown.
Yeah.
And he does the Watiti switch and makes it funny, and it just it bugged me.
What obviously we finish with Thor adopting Gor's daughter.
His own real daughter, actually. A lot of nepotism in this film.
Whose daughter?
Hemsworth's daughter.
Is it really?
Yes, that's his daughter. And his son plays young Thor.
I had no idea. That's awesome.
Pure nepotism. She's not a good actress. No.
She wasn't too bad.
She was fine.
She's pretty bad.
She died pretty good at the start. I was like, oh, that's sad.
She's good at just laying still and not acting.
But so obviously, yeah, that's the whole thing with Love and Thunder is them two. So is that the direction of 5? We have him and his daughter fighting people?
Is it the first 5 minutes of the show and then he sends her to boarding school and it's just Thor doing what he needs to do, just like we got with Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah, Taika Waititi does another intro like, we left off with Love and Thunder. And then just sends her off. He's like, nah, you go do this. Go to school. It's a school day. I'm going to go finish this climatic battle.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a new direction. We haven't seen that. But I don't know, is that a direction? Would you guys like that? Like a father-daughter Thor film?
I mean, Dad Thor, that could be fun. That could be fun.
Yeah, I think it could be fun.
I can relate to that.
Maybe Taika Waititi's the kind, he has handled children well in the past.
His other big thing is fathers, so yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. So what did you guys think of the Guns N' Roses soundtrack? So there's 3 Guns N' Roses songs in this film.
Yeah,
it didn't hit as much as Immigrant Song in Ragnarok.
No.
Like it was nowhere near as iconic as that. That's just always the Thor song for me now. So
yeah. I remember seeing there was one of them in the trailer, I can't remember which one. I think it was Paradise City. Either way, and then we got that in. We got one of them here. I was like, oh yeah, there it is. And then we got another one. Like, oh yeah, he's doubling down on that. And then we get a third one. I'm like, oh, holy crap!
Yeah,
slow down with your gun as we get your reference points, man. It was way too much for me.
I'm gonna change my name to Axel. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
oh my god! Yeah,
there was a lot of it was. It didn't hit as hard as Immigrant Song in Ragnarok. Like it didn't have that same effect. The whole soundtrack in this movie was pretty forgettable.
Yeah. Oh, what was I going to talk about? The one joke that just a small one that I did like was Korg getting married with that ceremony and him being like, my husband Dwayne. oh god,
making babies by holding hands. Yeah,
I was man. Like when he said that, I was just like, oh my god, is this going to be The Rock's voice being like, my brother? I'm just being like. Plugging his Zoe energy drink. I was like, oh my god, this would be great if The Rock just plays Korg's husband. I was like, this would be amazing.
Korg had a mum. Korg had a mum in Ragnarok too, by the way. But anyway, there's just more retconning. But anyway,
yeah.
Oh, true. Yeah.
I don't think
he did with his stepdad and everything. He told the story. That was hilarious. Yeah. Taika, what are you doing?
What's happening, man? Go back to vampires. So you're talking before about how you think like Taika he saved Thor and he reinvented a lot of the direction for the MCU. But is this so? We had this weird season, right, where originally filmmakers couldn't be filmmakers, and we had this whole issue where we were getting generic directors, like you get Peyton Reed doing Ant-Man, you get Alan Taylor doing Thor 2. We had a bit of a problem where I was like, oh, they're just getting these really ordinary guys to make films, and then seems like with Taika, we're like, oh no, we're actually letting filmmakers be filmmakers again. And we thought we were on the up and up. But now we've had Doctor Strange with Sam Raimi, which I think has been a disappointment. And then we get this. Are we seeing it fall again? Are we seeing this weird thing where having filmmakers make isn't the best thing to do? We should go back.
So are we saying Marvel had it right with just them telling people how to make their films?
Well, I'm saying like the Russo brothers made probably every good MCU film.
They did, and they kept then getting like they got given more to do because they kept making bangers.
And they were mainly just really good TV filmmakers, like TV directors. That was their thing. because this was the answer we were hoping for. And, I'm still bummed that we didn't get the Edgar Wright Ant-Man. But now I'm like, wait, but is this what happens if we actually do give? Is this what happens now? We have these, like, I don't know. What do you guys think? Because I'm honestly at a loss. Do I kind of want to keep giving filmmakers blank checks, but at the same time,
like
we don't have a good track record.
Ragnarok is like one of the best MCU films,
easily,
and that had Taika Waititi over it, all over it. I don't know. I feel like there needs to be some direction. I don't know if it's just Marvel in general. Like, this phase is weird. They're like Eternals has nothing to do with Shang-Chi,
that's the other one.
which had nothing to do with Black Widow, which has nothing to do with Doctor Strange, which has nothing to do with that. It's just, it feels like phase 4, bunch of standalone stories with weird, different like newcomers, and then the next one is when they're building towards the next big villain and uniting everyone. I don't know, because
I don't know if that's what made these movies poor, but I don't know. Like, I don't know if you can judge it just on these two films. Like, I feel like James Gunn has done a good job with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
like, they're not perfect films by any means, but I like both those movies. I think they're decent.
I guess the other ones though, they're not, are like Black Panther with Ryan Coogler, which I don't think is very good, and you've got Eternals with Chloe Zhao,
which by all accounts was terrible.
Which, yeah, I haven't seen.
Like, this phase has brought the worst movies. Really?
Yeah, that's what but
this phase has been incredibly weak.
Yeah, and these are the directors
No Way Home.
We know. So James Gunn's probably the other one. And then, No Way Home's the big hit. But that's by a director, John Watts, who I don't think anyone really knows his name unless you're interested in knowing the name.
Yeah, Spider-Man.
Like, that's pretty much his most prolific work, is the new Spider-Man trilogy. So out of the filmmakers they've got to really be like, your filmmakers to make these things, we've had Taika work and we've had James Gunn work. But the others have all kind of fallen short, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
or at the very least, it's split. It's. I think you'd have to say it's a split pot, right?
Yeah. We won't get an Eternals 2. Like, I there's no chance we ever get anything. They could just not mention them ever again, I feel like.
Well, I think that's why Jon Snow's now making his Game of Thrones prequel, right? Or the spin-off series.
Like, well, that movie didn't work.
He's like, I'm never getting into the MCU again. So.
Yeah.
I think even the worst movies that have good directors, so even Multiverse of Madness, even Love and Thunder, are better than the generic ass movies we got. Like, they're better than Ant-Man and they're better than Dark World. I don't mind Ant-Man, but Dark World's bad.
Great.
Dark World's boring as, I don't know, Iron Man 2. There's probably a good director behind Iron Man 2, but Iron Man 2 feels super generic.
Yeah, it does. Who is the director behind Iron Man 2?
It's better than Black Widow. But
I think the movie, if you give a series to a director and make that their baby and let them run away with it, I think even the worst results are better than our, the generic boring movies that we've had in the MCU.
Yeah.
Shang-Chi was really good though. No, nobody watched it, but Shang-Chi is really good.
I've heard, and I do. It's the one that I haven't seen that I feel like I should watch. Like, I have no interest in Eternals. I don't want to watch Black Widow. I'm not interested in any more Marvel TV after trying to give Loki a go.
I've heard Shang-Chi is good until the CGI fight at the end.
Nah, man. It's all Dragon Ball. It's awesome.
You're the only person I've heard say good things. Everything I've read has been like, this movie is great until then, and then it sucks.
But even that's 20 minutes in a 2-hour movie. Like, I don't know. It's a good film. Like, honestly, I came out of that. I didn't know anything about the character, didn't know anything about the movie. And I came out, I was like, oh, that was really good. Came home, watched it with my kids. My kids loved that film. They became obsessed with it. But I can't get my kids obsessed with Eternals. There's no chance.
They don't like a 3-hour slow character drama. Why not?
No, just handsome people just staring off into the sunset for about 2.5 hours. Like,
man, I should watch Eternals. It sounds like my bread and butter.
Conan's gonna be back in the MCU.
Yep.
Do you think post-credit scenes need to be done away with? Like, when was the last good post-credit scene?
I didn't watch the final, like the post-credit scene.
Do you know what it is?
No. Someone told me today at work and I've forgotten.
Natalie Portman got into Valhalla and is greeted by Heimdall.
And that's it.
Idris Elba turns up at that.
Yeah, he does.
And
for
he's
all
like,
of 10 seconds.
he's like, "Welcome to Valhalla," and she's like,
Well,
What is this place?" Yeah.
all those Vikings who didn't live and die in battle must feel so pissed
Yeah.
that this scientist comes along, wields Mjolnir somehow, and gets into Valhalla.
You know what could have saved that scene? Having Sif's arm be there.
Oh my
It
god.
would have saved that post-credit scene.
See, they need to hire Griner.
Yeah, they
There you
need
go.
Griner with
Disclaimer,
TV.
I got that off Reddit, but
It's all right.
See-
We'll never know.
But here's the thing, like, I think I really feel like Thor was just lying to her because he was like, no, you got to be here. Because, like, obviously Odin died and he went there and he was just chilling on a cliff. He'd been living in a retirement home for 10 years. Like, I don't know. Who knows?
But yeah, post-credit scenes, that one was boring. Multiverse of Madness, I can't even remember what it was. Like,
It was the
third eye.
oh yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's
Woohoo.
right. No, wait. No, is that the mid credits or the
That was
post?
the mid credits.
There was the mid credits of the third eye opening,
Yeah.
and then the other one
post credits
was
was Sam. Not Sam Raimi. Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell. Yeah. And then the
But
one
it wasn't good.
Remember,
But there-
Spider-Man post credit was a trailer.
yeah, but the other Doctor Strange one is what's his name? Charlize
Charlize
Theron
Theron.
showing up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that
And he-
three? Is there three in that movie?
Yeah, because no, the movie ends with his eye opening. Then
Oh, yeah.
Charlize Theron
Yeah.
comes up in a credit, and
In the
his eye
mid-credit.
opens again.
Yeah.
And as if it's all casual now, he's like, "Yeah, look, let's go."
Yeah. pop
And
it up.
then yeah,
Bruce Campbell's a post. I think the very end credit scenes now are because back in the day, I remember they were like a teaser for the next film.
Yeah, it was like, this is a reveal of Nick Fury, or this is like
Yeah.
the reveal
Or
of
you-
Captain Marvel and stuff. Like, yeah.
Yeah, you'd see Coleman turn up where they're excavating for the hammer.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, so they're digging here for something. So it's like just a tiny little taste, and it rewarded
this
you knowledge.
one's
Like,
now
oh,
jokes.
now
Yeah.
it's just a trailer or a joke, and it's like you stay here, but it doesn't do anything.
I mean, the Valhalla scene wasn't even a joke. It was so nothing.
It was pointless.
This is the big problem. I think Phase 4 has no goal. Like, it's just
No,
What happened to Kang the Conqueror? Wasn't he at the goal?
exactly. I was just about to say the exact same thing. Like, that's what the Loki show teases and ends on this. Like, the Loki show finishes, and you're like, "Oh shit, this is where we're going. Like, this is where this phase is going." And like, Loki's not even brought up in this movie.
No,
like-
which is kind of weird for a Thor.
Like, there's a Loki that's
Yeah.
alive out there, like going through different dimensions and stuff like that. And it's not. I thought
if there's
that
a
would be
Loki
a
that's
post
alive in
credit
this
scene.
movie. It's played by Matt Damon.
Oh yes, yes.
the one true Loki.
But yeah, like there's been no hint to Kang the Conqueror in this.
That's what when that show was coming out, all the stuff I was reading was like, this is finally the reveal of the big bad. This is Thanos for this phase. And I've heard nothing about it. What I don't get what's going on. Like,
And
do you
how
reckon-
long's this phase? Because this phase feels like
Yeah.
it should be ending
Yeah.
soon.
That's exactly. Is Feige just trying? Like, are they trying to just keep all their options open to see what fans want, or are they lost? Are they
Yeah,
just lost?
I feel like they're lost, but I feel like it's because COVID like screwed them over.
Yeah,
Like they didn't
change-
release a Marvel movie for a long time, and the only one they put in there was Black Widow.
But even that was last year. It got pushed 2 years.
Yeah, it got pushed
almost.
too. Yeah,
Like in the last 12 months, we've had Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and Thor now. In the last
Jeez.
13 months.
Yeah, that's Eternals would almost be over a year now, right?
No, Eternals was. Oh, am I?
'Cause
I don't know. My
it's
years
July.
could be all messed up. Eternals
Okay.
was October.
Okay, what about Shang?
No, Shang-Chi was 2 months before that. That was last year. So that was only late last year. Black Widow was last May. So only 13 months, like 14 months ago now.
So upcoming, we've got the Black Panther movie, Wakanda Forever,
Yep.
which is doing reshoots and stuff. So I believe it's going to come out in October or sometime.
Is that announced? Because isn't there lots of problems with what's her face?
Letitia.
Yeah, Letitia.
I don't think so now. Like concept art's all coming out and
I think it's done. I think they were trying to do reshoots and they couldn't get her because she wasn't vaccinated or
Yeah.
something. But I think, as far as I know, it's slated for coming out in November. We've got Guardians of the Galaxy sometime.
for that.
It's still
I'm keen for
saying
that.
this year, so it might be Christmas.
I think
No,
it's
it's
right
not-
before
sorry.
Christmas.
Sorry,
I
there's
know.
a holiday special coming at Christmas.
Yeah, there's a holiday
Apologies.
special coming.
And then there's Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. So it's February next year.
All right.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is May next year.
Yeah.
What about Blade? Is Blade announced on? Or is that a TV show?
That's the thing. What are they doing with all the TV shows? Because now it's like, I'm not even like there's Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, Loki,
She-Hulk.
She-Hulk. Like
There's an I Am Groot TV series. Did you know that?
Yeah, I saw that. Which just
like
sounds like hell.
They've announced. Did they not announce like the director or something for Captain America 4? Like, there's going to be another Captain America film.
They did just announce that. I can't remember who it is, but
with Anthony Mackie, obviously.
So they're bringing back Chris Evans.
You got to save us.
So,
because then there's obviously the Daredevil stuff they're bringing in as well. So they're trying to now incorporate over those things.
Well, plus there's Blade. Deadpool apparently is doing a third movie. I don't know if they know what they're. Who am I to say I don't know if they know what they're doing? But as someone who's watched a lot of Marvel, I don't know what they're doing.
He's going to be pissed.
Yeah, he listens to this.
Yeah.
He's like Kingpin. He just crushes his desk with one hit.
I feel like Phase 4 needs to piss or get off the pot, to give it an Australian term. Like, they need to either give us a big bad and make some heroes come together, or wipe the slate. Have something happen that. Like, that's what I thought we were going to get with Multiverse, honestly. Like, that's where I thought we were headed. It's going to wipe the slate. Here we go.
But that's the problem. It feels like they are. It feels like they're holding that as the ace in the hole, right? They can just do what they want, and they can... I feel like it's this weird meta thing where he's, like, seeing what works. And that was my problem with Doctor Strange. He was shopping around castings and, like, does John Krasinski work? Do we like him? And then at any moment, they can just say last minute, multiverse rift, or they merge, or whatever it's called in Doctor Strange, and now we restart and we can remake Iron Man and we can remake all these things that worked, or we can just do the whole thing but use the young Avengers. And that feels really cowardly to me. This whole phrase feels cowardly. There's nothing interesting. They're not investing in anything. Everything is a safe bet. And like even in Thor Love and Thunder, none of the characters die. Tessa Thompson gets stabbed, but she's cool. She's just fine. Zeus gets lightning
Jane
bolt.
Foster dies.
Oh, she's not a character.
Nobody of consequence dies.
No, exactly. They bring her back just to kill her.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been cool to have one of them die. Have Valkyrie die or have Zeus die, but they're all just brought back in the end. And I'm like, that really bums me, because that means they can just keep being like, we'll go play the safest cards we can. We'll never have to pick a direction and stick to it.
I don't know.
It seems like they don't know.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, I thought originally that was going to be dealing with multi-dimensional stuff. Like, there's a lot of different dimension stuff in this phase, so it seems like... And Loki was very much about that, so... Eventually, it's going to seem like a mess.
Yeah, that seems like the biggest nightmare to manage, and it doesn't feel like it's been managed at all, so... Yeah,
no.
I don't know.
I feel like if Kang showed up in one of these movies, 90% of people would be like, "Who is this?
Yeah,
like what? Where has this come from? What do you mean it's been building up to this person?"
No, they'd spend 40 minutes like recapping us though.
They'd have Taika narrate.
Taika Waititi.
They just have Taika Waititi narrating. Would you guys be bummed if the direction became like the Young Avengers? So you had like Ms. Marvel and Haley Steinfeld from Hawkeye, and sort of these younger characters, Heimdall's son, whatever. Like, would you be, if that's where the direction they pick it up? It's just like, here's all the new characters, and they've sort of got equivalents. Would you be bummed with that?
I wouldn't be interested. I don't know. Like Miss Marvel's a fine show. I've watched 3 episodes now. Like, it's an enjoyable show, but like, these aren't characters. Like, I really enjoyed Moon Knight. I've watched all of them, but like, I don't know. Like, I'm not like hyped to see everyone united or anything like that. It just feels like it's all these little side stories that are for the TV shows. I feel like so many of these people I'll never see on the big screen, you know? But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. What does a Ms. Marvel movie look like? That's kind of weird to imagine.
Like with streaming, I feel like I don't know, because Star Wars, it's like, what talk are we getting of Star Wars movies? It feels like it's just shows. Like, is this the way Disney's going? Like, let's just make it all Disney Plus. This is where we're going to make our money. To have everyone subscribe to Disney Plus.
Star Wars has said that. Star Wars has said TV is what they do now, with the exception of Taika's, which might be happening. Even he's not quite sure.
But the Benioff Star Wars, we were getting Benioff Star Wars ones.
Yeah,
we were getting
that got canned ages ago.
Rian Johnson's is kind of like indefinitely
he was getting
shelved.
his own trilogy, and that's not happening.
Yeah,
thank God. Like, I just, yeah, I don't know, man. Don't know what Disney's doing, but I'm sure they've had some meetings. Their plans.
We just have to believe in Kevin Feige.
Yes.
All right. Any final thoughts on Thor or Marvel in general?
Movie was disappointing. I wanted to have fun. I'm not just the guy who ruins things. I wanted to enjoy it, and I didn't.
I had fun, but I believe it was because of the company, not because like I feel like if I watched that movie at home, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah. I like I won't say it's the worst. I won't say it's the seat next to me was. I won't say that it was the worst Marvel film, but this was the worst Marvel experience I've had going to the cinema. I walked out and I was like, I was like, I just wasted 2 hours. I could have been watching Hell's Kitchen. It's like I want to go and watch that.
Of course. I mean, look, I wish you were in my screening. I wonder what your experience would have been.
Yeah,
I'm sure it would have been better.
You'd be like, this movie saved the
This movie was awesome. But literally, I was like, I should have just waited and gone and watched Top Gun again tonight. Like, I was like, like, I don't know. Maybe it's just Top Gun Maverick has ruined films for me because I loved that movie so much. And I said it when I was watching that film, I was like, I want more films like this, not like Marvel. And then this is the first Marvel release since then where I've gone and watched it and I've just been like, this is not the same magic I experienced here in Top Gun Maverick. So we need Tom Cruise in the MCU.
Tom Cruise in the MCU.
Is Iron Man, yeah.
Iron Man, multiverse. Yep. That's what we need.
He'll
Get Miles Teller in.
He'll build an actual iron suit.
He would. He really would.
All right.
Anyway,
well,
that's all.
Thank you for joining us for the good, the bad, and the worst. This show was brought to you by The Taste of Iron, a book written by our very own Conan Clark. It's very, very good. Find it on Amazon. Give it a read. It's great. Thank you for joining us. You can find us on @GoodBadWorst. We also have a gaming podcast called Bonus XP, found on all your favourite podcasting apps. And thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time. What are we watching next time, Conan?
We're watching Austin Powers.
Austin Powers.
One of the OG trilogies.
All right. Catch you next time.
Peace.